Welcome to Costly Conversations. I'm super excited because we have my guy, Abrafo Akia. If I said that wrong, I am so sorry. But we've got him here, also known as Armed Black Dad of the Armed Black and Ambitious podcast. He's doing something special, something interesting in this space, and he's sharing his experiences as a person who is entering or has entered the firearm space a few years ago. And I think he's got a really interesting story to show, to a story to tell rather. So if you just sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, let's go ahead and have that conversation right now. My man. So while I have you here, before we even get started, for those who are listening and for myself, just go ahead and state your name slash moniker for me real quick.
Well, my real name is Preston. I go by Abrafo Akia, for a multitude of reasons, but you know, um, that's an Afrocentric name that I adopted years and years ago. Yeah, that's what a lot of my friends call me. They just say AB for short. Um, yeah, that's where I got the name. I have an herbal tea business that is it's called AB's Herbal Teas, which is
Really?
again short for short for Abrafo. Working to get that back up and running. Like I said, I took a hiatus, from a lot of things to focus on other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I have the podcast Armed Black and Ambitious.
Yeah.
Would really you want to get into that, or what, like
Yeah,
why did
yeah,
I
yeah.
really
Actually,
got
wow.
into that? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So real quick before you kind of get completely rolling and just kind of like just go out the gate, as
yeah,
people may or may not know, you are a podcaster, which is
yes.
pretty cool. If I do say so myself, it's pretty cool. Um, you are, a dad, which is indicative of your main Instagram page title. You're a pops. You're a dad,
Come
um,
here.
father, which is fantastic. She don't want to be on.
Yeah.
It's cool. Which
No,
is
she didn't want
they
to be
never
on
do.
video.
They never do
She wants
until they're not really supposed to be on camera. Then they'd be like, "Let me see everything." Then they want to grab
that's
everything, and
her.
that's great. No, I get it.
That's really her.
I understand. I'm a little camera shy myself, which is funny because we have a video podcast uh, and a YouTube channel. But man, I want to talk about you and kind of share your story because I think it's interesting. So first of all, before you even got into the podcasting game, you got into the firearms world. How, why, who, what, where, when, why did you get into the firearms world?
Um, well, let me just start and say, I'm from New Jersey originally, and I think culture can impact a lot of your decisions or a lot of things that, or impact your mindset. So, in New Jersey, there's a lot of anti-gun propaganda. There's a lot of conditioning that I think takes place where people feel as though they don't need firearms, or that's just not. Again, the culture, being surrounded. So when I moved to Pennsylvania and more so into Philadelphia, it was totally different for me. Now, I did have my uncle in my ear saying, from years ago, hey, get your license, get your concealed carry permit, do it, do it, do it. And I didn't really think, and I was never anti-gun or anything like that. It was just that I didn't think that I needed my firearm like I do now, and I need my firearm. And I don't want a gun; I need a gun. And yeah, so it wasn't until even my old supervisor at my old office, he was, we got pretty close, and he was constantly in my ear about it. And I think it really, really sunk in was when all the COVID stuff started to really happen. And, prior to even being a gun owner or anything like that, I was somebody who had always questioned government. And
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know how crazy or how extensive, everything was going to be. I'm one of those people where I do believe society is going to collapse or could collapse in our lifetime. Just seeing how everything's just unraveling even to this point. So
Yeah.
I thought this was it. I'm like, man, it's going to be at some point tanks rolling down the street. I have to at least get a firearm because I need to protect myself and my daughter. I'm somebody's father.
Right.
And so, I begin to indulge, man. I really started to, look into the type of guns that I might want, and just reading up on gun laws and this and that. Just start following those types of people, because I think that everything's energy. So when you start to indulge or pursue or go down a certain path, you're going to find those answers that you want. You're going to find those people that you eventually want to be around. And here I am. So I think that once I purchased my first firearm, which was a Smith and Wesson M&P 2.0 subcompact.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I liked going to the gun range. I liked talking about the anti-gun propaganda. And once you get into this world, you understand that it's a tool of self-defense. It's not some spooky weapon of war that just gets up and starts harming people. No, it's the person. If somebody chooses to do something wrong with their firearm, that's the person. It's not the weapon or the tool being used. So yeah, I think, yeah, I fell in love with it. I truly fell in love with it. And always love to tell people that I know and love around me that even if you don't become a gun nut or a gun enthusiast like I've become, that doesn't mean you shouldn't know the basic mechanics or the simple rules of firearm safety.
Right.
Because it could save your life. I'm not saying, hey, be a crazed enthused gun person, but know the basics on how to use a firearm if you, for God forbid, have to use it or pick one up in
Right.
the name of self-defense. And that's
Because
it.
because people do from time to time find firearms. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's not entirely uncommon to find a firearm or to come across a firearm, or even in the commission of a crime be faced with a firearm. And now, if for
Yeah.
some reason that firearm ended up um, in a situation where you are in an unfortunately advantageous situation where you should pick it up to defend yourself, like you said, or even to move it out of the way so that perhaps if this person's being subdued, you can kind of get it out the way. How do you even know how to do that? Like, is it safe to kick a gun that's on the floor? I mean, for those who are uninformed, I'm not asking you to
I
answer
mean,
that, but for those who are uninformed, maybe they'd be like, "Well, no, because it might go off," or "Don't pick
right,
it up because I'll put fingerprints on it." I'm like, "Well, there's so many considerations, but if you've literally never touched a gun before, that's like the furthest thing from your mind." And so,
right.
if for some reason you were in such a weird situation, and it's not that weird, people get robbed every day. Like this is normal.
Too
Um,
much.
that you wouldn't know. And even kind of coming away from the extremes, because I know what you said, like, hey, during COVID, it came to your mind that things could get really bad, and the tanks could come rolling down the street.
Yeah.
The reality is, when I first started the show, the very first episode of the show, we were having a conversation with a guy who was in DFW, Dallas. I'm in Tyler, which is East Texas, not too far away, and Texas was experiencing what was called the snowpocalypse, as in really bad winter storm knocked out large sections of the power grid, and people were freezing inside of their homes. People literally froze to death. Their whole families died in their homes,
Wow.
which is crazy enough. But what happens after 72 hours of your fridge is dead, you've opened your fridge, the food has gone spoiled, you don't really have enough? People get desperate. People get
Right.
desperate, and it's not too much longer after that, should the grid not be restored quickly, whether it's due to storms like down in Houston, where it was flooded not that long ago and people were in desperate
Right.
situations, or you literally had winter freeze come through and put people in desperate situations. It doesn't take much to take somebody who's maybe doesn't have the strongest moral compass and let them think, oh, well, now it's a good time to go get that TV down the street. Well, I'm going to go look for some food, which obviously I would hate to ever have to defend myself against somebody who's just hungry. Like that's a terrible situation. But
Yeah.
if there's one thing that COVID taught us, is that people are not always as noble as just trying to survive on basic needs. A lot of the unfortunate, you saw some of the public distress that happened after the gentleman George Floyd was murdered, and it got really crazy because we saw department stores getting completely looted out, and people's small businesses getting ransacked, people running through
I saw it
neighborhoods that are
firsthand.
private neighborhoods. You said you're seeing it firsthand, and I would love to maybe crack into that a little bit more about what exactly you saw. But and I know I've been going on for like 3 minutes straight, and
No,
this is
go.
your opportunity to speak. But I did want to just emphasize, like, people are like, "Why you need an AR-15?" I'm like, I need my AR-15
I
because
sure do.
literally people go crazy, and for some reason, robbery is like a team sport these days, and they people be rolling like five, six, seven deep, and somebody might have body armor because they're just
Criminals are
about that
cowards.
life. They really
Yeah,
are, and
yeah,
so like if you think I'm a vulnerable target, I'm gonna let you know that I'm not really quickly. And I'm a super nice guy. Like anybody who knows me knows that. But I got
yeah.
kids. Like I gotta flip a switch and deal with the situation. So
Listen, I'm quick to tell somebody that, it could be about anything.
hmm
I'm quick to remind somebody I am somebody's father. So
hmm
don't put me in a compromised position,
yeah.
because I'm going to do what I have to do to remain being a father, to stay alive, to stay out of jail, and most likely I have work in the morning. So don't
Right.
compromise me.
Like they you
Don't
gotta you gotta
yeah,
show up.
don't jeopardize my livelihood. And yeah, I think it. Well, just to speak on what I saw firsthand. Obviously just seeing stuff on social media, but I'm actually driving down City Line Avenue. Is a really popular street in Philadelphia. I'm driving down City Line Avenue. It's a plaza of stores, and they were already boarded up, but people were actually breaking into these stores. There's like an America's Best. There's a Rita's Water Ice. There's an Applebee's. There's a whole bunch of different restaurants and stores. And when I tell you, you just see people running out, scattering like roaches. Just everything's boarded up, but
Hmm
there's just one open door, and everybody was just running out with stuff. And I'm
Right.
like, I didn't even see them at first, but I saw people were like standing across the street looking out with their phones. So I'm like, I look to my right, I'm like, what the hell is everybody recording and looking at? So then I look over to my left and I actually pull over to see, and that's what was going on. So people were actually, actively looting and pillaging through these stores. And yeah, I just like, man, it's really, and I think that people are always going to take advantage um, of the moment. There's always going to be opportunists. You may not necessarily be a thief, but if you see the opportunity to steal, you're like, well, screw it. I'm just going to steal it. I'm just going to take
Right.
what the hell I want. But I think
Right.
under
I mean, a
normal
lot of people do
circumstances,
think
you
like
might not
that.
be that person.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, here's a thought. Like bank truck is rolling down the street, and all of a sudden the door flies open, and you're faced with literally like a mound of $100 bills. Like literally no one's
Pulling
around you.
over.
There's no cameras. Like the spot. You like this is nowhere. Like who's gonna stop you from picking up $100 bill off the ground? Much less taking
A
a few
few of them.
dollars off the stack. Like you got bills,
Yeah.
you got kids. Like it almost makes sense. But
Yeah.
hopefully, your moral code would stop you from not necessarily that. I'm not going to tell you what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
Don't steal. I don't have to explain that.
Yeah. There's money
But
flying in the air.
I mean,
I'm not the guy you should ask about that.
right. But I'm hoping that he's like, okay, well, Target is being overrun with random people. I just hope that people don't say like, well, I'm gonna go make the situation worse. Let me just go ahead and get the TV. I mean, it's already empty.
Yeah.
Like,
That.
don't
Yeah.
don't be
That's
that
excessive.
guy. Don't be that guy. Like, bro, like it's
Yeah.
one thing if you're like, well, literally all the toilet paper is being taken. I guess I'm gonna take a roll. Like, I shop here all the time, anyways. Like, and it sounds like I'm condoning stealing. I swear to goodness, I'm not. But
Yeah. You don't
there,
seem like the type of guy.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm
I would
not.
never.
I'm not.
Yeah. No. For
But
sure.
and someone's gonna hear this and just take it the completely wrong way. So I guess we should
Of
move
course.
on to another topic. But ultimately, man, I'm just bro. Like you're seeing this stuff firsthand. A lot of us just looked on the news and saw it, and it's just like, wow, this is this is different. I've never
Yeah.
seen anything quite like this in my lifetime, where people are motivated in such a weird and primal way
Yeah.
to act out in this way. So I'm glad you're okay. First of all, it's
Oh, yeah,
unfortunate
absolutely.
that you know the areas that you are around kind of have to deal with it. But I guess such is life at this point.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah. I
normal.
mean, it is what it is. It's just, you know, always think there's situations,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can get into in a situation that you can't get out of, or you can't control being a part of. So if you unfortunately roll into a situation and there's a riot going on, or an angry protest, and you get caught in the midst of that, and those people may not look like you, or maybe against the things that you believe in, and you get caught and you have to defend yourself, that's one thing. But if you actively go there to cause a ruckus, or to cause,
Mm-hmm.
basically fan the flame, then you're responsible, or anything that happens out there, you should take responsibility for that. So,
Yeah.
I had my daughter with me, like literally,
Wow.
I had my daughter with me. And prior to being a father, I was definitely, one of those people who was actively doing community work.
Right.
I used to be a part of, what's called RBG Fridays, and basically, we went on a really populated, corner, highly impoverished black area in Philadelphia, Broad and Girard. And we played music. We had people out there, playing chess. We passed out a lot of information about knowing your rights. We passed out information about sexual abuse that goes on, in the black community, that likes to get swept under the rug often, amongst family, amongst friends, a whole bunch of different subjects. It was just creating a positive environment, a loving, positive environment, creating conversation, or spreading that type of message towards the people. And uh, I just think that I lost my train of thought, but
Well, you were saying that you were part of this organization and you had been out there and previously doing, what they call community work,
yeah,
but obviously it. I feel like maybe you
yeah,
feel like this is somehow different,
yeah. So I think that
or else maybe it's not.
if yeah, I mean, if yeah, it was definitely different, like in terms of, like, because people were just taking advantage of the moment. And I get if people were upset about the cops doing something, or the government, or the people felt like they were truly being taken advantage of, or being oppressed, then I would fully condone that. And a part of me would be out there to support those protests. And yeah, they can be dangerous. Yeah, you could get hurt, or you could even die, or go to jail. And my perspectives totally changed when I became a father. So I would never be a part of the looting and the rioting and stuff like that. But as far as the protesting, or the organized, groups of people that wanted to make their stance against certain things, I would for sure go out there and be a part of that. And I
Yeah,
just think, and I think that I would still, but I would most certainly pick and choose my battles even more,
sure.
because I'm a father,
Oh, you know what? I thought I heard you say would still as an Still, and
Yeah.
your accent hit it like a steel. Like
Oh,
I
I
would
have an
still.
accent.
Bruh,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
don't say that. This is a recorded line.
You
Oh
said I
man.
have an accent?
No, no, no. I said your accent. The way you said still, it sounded like
Oh,
steel.
yeah, not steal. Yeah, no, no. I
No,
would
let's
still
not say that
actively
out,
go
out
out there.
loud.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
not steal
definitely.
anything. No.
No, I think, I know that this wasn't necessarily the topic of conversation, but I think that kind of community work and going out and being an activist of sorts, both left leaning people, right leaning people, pro black people,
Yeah.
pro other than that people, we all do it. As in, we all go out, and if something's motivating enough, I mean, we see parents going to PTA meetings complaining about this and that. Everybody does it, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I think there is some value in people organizing themselves and coming together for something that they consider to be bigger than themselves, bigger than the individual. And I think it's valuable because the Western world and America can be really individualized society in a sense. So the fact that we're saying like, hey, let's get together and let's come against whatever it is that we feel like is truly wrong, because America is oftentimes run by corporations and larger than life individuals who would love to just impose their will upon you or their ideals. And this is America, baby. Like you're not going to get away with that.
No.
Not while people still have the ability to organize. And that's what makes social media so powerful, is the ability to do it online and then make it happen in reality. And if you can't do that, you failed, obviously. But I think it's cool that you're able to come on and talk a little bit about that. I do want to just very quickly address the crowd, because I don't think we really did that in the beginning. We just kind of jumped right into it. So we're going to take a second to do that. Guys, thank you so much for jumping in. I do see that there's a few people watching on the Armed Atlas YouTube channel and the Caustic Conversations podcast channel. We're also broadcasting to the Armed Atlas Facebook channel and at Armed Atlas on Twitter. if you love this programming, if you are interested in more conversations like this, maybe you don't even really like this particular one, which is sad because this is really interesting, but you are interested in hearing from more firearms enthusiasts, from more people who are interested in building and protecting what we build, just as a people, as a society, as a firearms culture, or whatever group that you consider yourself part of, make sure you're subscribed to the Costly Pod or Costly Conversations podcast channel or wherever you can find podcasts. Normally, we don't broadcast this to the Armed Atlas YouTube channel, but we're doing it today because we want to see about making sure that more people can find the show and so on and so forth. Now, I do see there's a couple people in the audience listening, and I definitely appreciate you guys. Thank you for your comments. Make sure you're subscribed. Like that's the only thing I'm going to ask. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what we have coming next week and week after that and week after that. And go back and look at the backlog because we have a lot of really cool conversations with people that you would not actually believe if you didn't see it. So that being said, back to the show, my man. So let's talk about you getting into the world of podcasting. About a year and a half ago, or about how long ago did you start your podcast, Armed, Black, and Ambitious? And you're a little bit out of frame, so just kind of scooch down a little bit, if you will.
That's better.
Yeah, that looks good. About when did you start your podcast?
I want to say it was about a year now. I think I started. Yeah, I had already I had the idea honestly since early 2022, but I didn't really initiate or actually get it started and produce my first episode until about May of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up immediately stopping in July, so I got about 5 episodes done, and then unfortunately I had to take a hiatus and focus on other things and get my own self in order, get my mind right to even have the motivation or the ambition to do these podcasts again. And the passion had always remained there. It was just life was kicking me in the ass, to say the
Yeah.
least. And yeah, so like I said, I took a break from it. A lot of things changed from then until now, and I think the biggest thing for me was changing my health or changing how I eat or what I consume, whether
Mm-hmm.
that be social media, whether that be more so food. And I'm not afraid to say it because I mean a lot of people smoke. A lot of people smoke weed, and I was smoking weed way too much, man. And I went from you know smoking weed every day, before work, after work sometimes, and it just made me too stagnant. It made me too lazy. It made me
Mm.
too, it downed me too much, and
Yeah.
I feel like it lowered my vibration, you know, way too much to where I didn't want to do anything outside of going to work and going home and doing the bare minimum. So
Yeah.
once I started fasting, and I fasted for I mean, the longest I've ever done is 7 days, and then unfortunately I broke it. But I'll go 3 days and then maybe stop or stuff like that. But I feel like fasting broke me out of that that clutch or that clutch or that grip that I think marijuana had on me, where I was like, I have to smoke. And now, if I was ever choose to, or if I was to smoke, it's my choice now. Like I don't, it doesn't have that grip on me. Like you got to smoke, or you're
Yeah.
anxious, or you're in a crappy mood, or you feel like you can't get shit done because you didn't smoke. So I'm
Yeah.
very proud of that. It
That's
just,
awesome.
yeah, I don't even think I would be doing that if I continued to smoke. I wouldn't even be here, honestly, if I continued to smoke excessively. And I would just bullshit or make not make the time to be productive and do things for myself or for my kid, for my daughter or for
Yeah.
my family. So yeah, I
That's hard, and I
feel
think
much better.
that's really hard. And I think a lot of people they they have a thing that they kind of find themselves latched onto that is actually killing their drive, killing their momentum, slowing them down from actually reaching their goals or even trying, right? Because I'm not saying that maybe you didn't wake up one day and say like, dang, I really should get back to this, or I really should get back to that other business that I've been working on, or link up with these people. But like you said, your motivation wasn't quite there. And obviously, if you're dealing with things up top, if you're dealing with things in your heart, if you're also dealing with the chemicals and the different intake that, or the the output from the things that you intake, whether it's smoking weed or even other things that one can smoke, and it's like, bro, like
Right.
I am killing my motivation. I'm killing my vibe, and obviously we got guys in the comments saying that they appreciate you sharing, and um, we definitely appreciate what you're sharing. That said, we we do have to take a real inventory and say like, hey, let's kind of break out. Let's break out of our cycle, find the thing that's slowing us down, and move forward. So,
Yeah.
talk about where you are right now with the podcast because you just came back. I think you dropped just 2 episodes at this point on your comeback tour. Talk
Yes.
about those episodes and what you're doing with those.
So episode 6 was gun ownership and mental health. So I got into a little bit about a little more in depth than what we did here, as far as what I had gone through, why I was to this point, and just I gave a lot of just a little bit of information as far as like gun deaths by well, suicides, by with a firearm, and I just think the mindset, or I think I got into a little bit about I guess that, and I've had conversations with other gun owners too, where we feel as though we can't talk about what we're going through in fear of being labeled as somebody who's unstable, and okay, they're a gun owner, now they shouldn't have a gun, or if you say something to the wrong person, then you can be labeled as a gun owner, or if you live in a state with red flag laws, just like that, somebody can come violate your rights. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't think that if somebody's having a mental health issues, there's levels to it, and you could just be having a bad day, or you could just be going through something with your spouse, or going through something with work. That doesn't mean you're ready to harm yourself with a firearm, or ready to harm somebody else with a firearm. You're just having a shitty time. You're having a really, jacked up time in your life. That doesn't mean you shouldn't your rights should be violated, or you shouldn't have the ability to defend your life. It's not
Mm-hmm.
to that point. And so I think, I got into that where, it's times where I would call like certain hotlines provided to me through my job, and I felt like I had to almost tiptoe, or I would call certain hotlines provided by the state, to just people to talk to. It's times where I would do it 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep, because I'm going through something with my my ex fiance, or there's something going on with that I'm upset with pertaining to my daughter, and it just comes barreling down on you, and you just want somebody to talk to. And sometimes you may feel like, okay, I feel like I can't open up to people that I know and love, with the fear of, again, it being retaliated against you at a future at a future date. So it was like, okay, I can talk to this stranger because this person don't know me and may not ever talk to them again after this conversation. So, but still, like I said, with that, you're in fear of being labeled as somebody who's mentally unstable, or them attempting to do so, and you don't know their agenda. And that's just the type of person I am. I'm like, okay, is this person, does this person that I'm conveying, or confessing to or confining to, do they have a separate agenda, or is their boss or is their job telling them, hey, flag this person, or make sure you hone in on this person because they just mentioned to you that they're a gun owner, or there's firearms in the house, or I think that when
Right.
I've spoken to people on these hotlines, and they'll say, is there firearms in the home, or do you feel like you want to kill yourself, or things of that nature, and that's okay to ask, because you don't know if people are feeling that way. But
Yeah.
you shouldn't be asking if there's firearms in the house. There's a TV in my house, are you going to ask if there's a TV in my house?
Right. And I'll,
you
I'll
know
play devil's advocate just a little bit, not because I really condone that line of questioning fully, but because I think there's some conventional wisdom out there that believes that, like, hey, if a person is having some sort of emotional pain or mental episode, quote unquote,
yeah,
and they also have access to methods of self harm, you start to layer those things up, and then maybe you can make a decision on how to advise this person, or if that person is a true risk to themselves, can
right.
you take additional action to help them, or whatever. Although I could see why I personally wouldn't want to be asked that if I'm just, saying like, "Hey, I'm having a hard time with my family dynamic," or I'm having, you went through something really hard last year, like you had
Yeah.
kind of briefly alluded to with the separation of you and your former fiance,
Yeah.
and that is horrifying and heartbreaking. Like that's a big deal, and I don't want to just gloss over that. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have no problem talking about it.
Yeah.
Things started to fall apart, I guess, earlier on this year. I would say about late January, February ish, and it didn't really boil over or truly end until about late May, honestly. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in therapy. I'm still, talking to people, talking to close friends and stuff like that. And again, I will preach to anybody about fasting and the power of fasting. Whether I'm not religious, or
Yeah,
anything like
I was
that.
about to ask you, is it like a faith based fasting? But you're saying that even just
I
the
I
basic
am doing
principle
it.
of fasting.
Yeah, I am doing it for the spiritual benefit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like I don't follow any organized religion. So I
Okay.
understand when you fast, it puts you into just a different mental space. You get that clarity. You get closer to God or the creator of the universe, whatever believe it to be, the higher power. And yeah, I just think that I'm a firm believer in receiving messages in your dreams, just receiving messages through, I guess, unconventional means. And I've had those experiences from fasting. And like I said, I'm not religious or anything like that. I did get my first Bible, so I read certain chapters or certain books in the Bible. Like I'm a huge fan of Psalms, because
Mm-hmm.
Psalms are one of the older books of the Bible, or maybe it is actually the oldest book in the Bible and part of the Old Testament. But they can help change your life slowly but surely when you devote yourself to it, when you constantly read it, when you constantly pray those things. So I make sure I get up every morning and I pray certain psalms that are aligned with what I want to change in my life. And yeah, I think that because what I've really gone, it hit me hard, man. It hit me hard. And
Mm-hmm.
it really, really got to me to lose, my fiance. And, I made mistakes. She made mistakes. I know that weed and I know that social media were two huge driving forces in me losing my fiance. And it still hurts. I still miss her. We don't talk at
Mm-hmm.
all, honestly, at this point. And we did, up until a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hurt really bad. And like I said, I think therapy helps. I think fasting helps. I think, just talking to close people, whether you in the back of your mind say, okay, this could backfire on me, or they could use this against me at some point. I don't want to live in that fearsome state. So I
Yeah,
still
that's
talk to
that's
people.
quite a paranoid position, which is not like unduly
Yeah,
paranoid. People have taken advantage, but I
yeah,
think you have to be mindful, like not just you, but anyone listening, like you have to be
yeah,
careful not to just be like, nah, somebody's gonna take advantage of this vulnerability and hurt me, so I have to keep it to myself. Like I've done that. It's made my life so much harder. Like my life would
yeah.
be
It makes it even
so much
worse.
easier. Right.
Yeah, just talk to somebody about it. Yeah, like I said, I
Yeah.
won't live in that fearsome state of saying, okay, if I go to my favorite cousin and then, and admit to something to them, or, and then we have a falling out 2 months from now or a year from now, and then they just blurt out all of the things that I told them. I can't live like that. I can't think like that and say, okay, this might happen. No, I'm going to come to you out of sincerity and out of love. And it should tell you a lot if I came to you in the first place, and if
Yeah.
I'm vulnerable around you in the first place. I'm still a man, and I feel like, as men, we have to go out and project a certain image or a certain way about ourselves when we walk outside of our door,
Hmm.
but we shouldn't have to be that way when we go home.
Yeah.
You should be your total vulnerable self. You should be able to be your true authentic self when you come inside your house to your wife and to your children. So
I got to take that to
yeah,
heart. That's shit. That'll preach. It's a message right there. All right, Pastor
yeah.
Preston, I see you.
It's ironic too that you say that. My ex fiance, she when I met her, she called me pastor. She always called me pastor because she claims that I'm constantly preaching, whether that be about things going on in geopolitics or racism or whatever the hell I'm passionate about, even guns. Now she constantly calls me pastor. Like
That's
that's funny that you say
that is funty.
Yeah,
I do want to just take a quick diversion. I do see that there's this great question from a YouTube user Reps, and they're asking what are they asking? They said so late, just hopping in. May have already spoken about this, but as of 2A activism, where are you now with your political plans for next year? Do you have political plans for next year? Are you going deep into the 2A activism space? Or are you just going to share on your podcast platform and Instagram? Like, what are you doing with that?
Well. Let me say this first. I am a huge fan of obviously your podcast and your Instagram
Thank
channel,
you.
and like I said, everything is energy. So when you want to, find these people or be around a certain group of people, you're going to find them if you constantly search for it. If you do the work. So I like your channel. I like Coleon Noir. Obviously, I love Black Rambo, Mark Chopper, Nina Flores. I like a whole bunch of different people. So I want to start getting out and going to these, these events that they have, like Mark Chopper always has the Mark Chopper Day, or there's, I know Black Rambo always does a huge thing for his birthday. I
Hmm.
know now there's like a lot of Juneteenth gun range days, and um, next month I'm actually going for my gun instructor course. So I love, and I've been talking to Jarrell Crew. He is the he runs the Philadelphia chapter of NAGA, and he's USCCA certified. And so I've been talking to him, even personal stuff. Me and him talk about it, and he's actually going to be the person that trains me. So that's definitely my goal, to become an instructor, to be more active and be a part of these things, and travel more to to these events all over the country. I would love to get into that and just be a part of the energy, just be a part of the environment. I would love to be a part of and be around people who look like me and understand that armed black people are safe black people. That is like my coined phrase. I don't know if I stole
No,
it from anybody, but that has been
who
like
knows? I
my
mean,
my
I would
saying
say who
since
cares, but
day one.
somebody cares, right? No,
Yeah.
that's
Listen, man. I do not care because, like, I mean,
right,
I don't. I'm not here to condone, or I'm
right,
not saying no. I'm not here to coddle anybody. So if somebody gets upset that I say armed black people are safe black
right.
people, who cares? I don't care that you get upset, because if you
Yeah,
think about it, armed white people are safe white people. Armed Asian people are safe Asian people. So
yeah.
I can
I
only
mean,
speak on my experience.
I think
I'm an armed black
there's
man, and I
a
believe that black people with guns are significantly safer and way harder to victimize or kill.
yep. There's saying armed black people are harder to not armed black armed minorities are harder to oppress, which is an
Yeah.
interesting concept because some people out there really don't believe that anybody's oppressed and that everybody's perfectly fine and that like the power dynamics in society don't play any role in the way that we can move freely.
Well,
Although that is not true.
that's
We can argue
bullshit,
about the
because
degrees of where it happens and when it happens,
yeah, I
but
think that if,
you
if
know,
if if things were fair, or if things that if it was truly like that, then we would see, for the most part, an equal amount of different people in the ghetto. You wouldn't see an alarming amount of black and Latino people in the ghetto, and
mm-hmm.
then occasionally, the poor whites. But then we would see a fair amount of poor Asian people in the ghetto. We would see
Oof.
a fair amount of poor Indian people in the ghetto. We don't see that. So the
I don't know
ghettos
if
are
I've ever seen an
constructed.
Indian person in the ghetto, and
Never. It's
there's
created.
actually a super
It's created.
serious reason why you might not see the quote unquote model minorities, and that let's not go down that path because that's a
Yeah.
conversation we
That's
can never really come back from. Not like
yeah.
socially, but in the span of the time that we have, it
Yeah.
would just take too long. But
Yeah.
I encourage people to really look into what it takes to immigrate, like legally immigrate here to the U.S. and what that looks like ultimately in the scheme of like socioeconomics. That's a serious topic. And real quick, guys, just a quick announcement: if you are listening on the Armed Atlas YouTube stream, this is a conversation that we normally have exclusively on the Costa Conversations podcast channel. We generally just have like firearms content, like trying out firearms, reviews, products, accessories, upgrades, etc., on the Armed Atlas channel. But I did want to share this over with you guys as well, so you could join us live and kind of see what we've been up to on the Costa Conversations podcast channel. So if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe. And for those of you who are still with me right now, no matter where you're listening from, even if you're listening on the pre-recorded podcast side on your podcast platform of choice, consider joining us on Patreon. We're doing a lot this summer, and how do we pay for it? Well, it's a great question. Through the hard work and dedication that you guys submit via the form of Patreon dollars, whether you're joining the $5 membership or something a little bit more substantial, I think there's a $12 membership. We are going to be doing something really cool where we're doing like community events, more or less, where we hop on more or less like a community Zoom call or some sort of live stream platform where we can all like hop in and do face to face and you can join in with some of our guests like Abrafo Akia, Preston, or even my guy Kwaku James, the martial arts expert that we interviewed about 2 weeks ago. He said he'd be super interested in coming on, so we're actually going to be scheduling something with him to get together and really just allow you guys to ask questions or hear directly from him and to be able to really just interact in a kind of a more private way. That's more exclusive to the people that either are interacting with the show via the comment section on Instagram and whatnot, or and those who are or paid members, like members only. That said, thank you so much for tuning in. We're gonna keep going with the show. We got a few more things we got to cover, and let's get it.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Preston, let's talk a little bit more about the podcast. What do you hope to accomplish with the information that you're sharing? Like, obviously, you talked about in the last few episodes, or the episode before last, talking about the, I guess, the dangers of red flag systems, especially when it comes to your personal experience with it. It's like, hey, now you're concerned as a firearms owner, are people going to basically villainize me or put me in a position where I'm kind of endangered in a sense because you're a firearms owner and you're having some distress, some emotional distress from losing things that are important to you.
Yeah.
And like, what else do you plan on discussing, or what do you plan on to accomplish with it? Do you want to reach 100,000 people? Like, what do you have goals? Like, what do you plan on doing?
well, well, you know, this is America, and everybody has bills, and it'd be great to get paid for it, but that's not what drives me or motivates me. I used to be one of those people where I thought that I could impact the world on a global scale, and maybe I can still someday. But
Mm-hmm.
what was instilled to me, or the understanding that I have now is that you just have to control what you can control. So my goal is to impact the people that I know and love, and then they can spread that to the people that they know and love, and that's how it'll trickle down. So when I got into the podcasting, I realized that there wasn't a lot of black gun podcasters talking about the things that I wanted to specifically speak on. Hold on one second,
Are
baby.
there other black gun podcasters out there? Because I've
Well, I
looked,
mean,
I've seen like one or
but there's not a
two.
lot.
I've seen one or two. I know Trenchwork Chronicles. He has his show that he does from time to time, and he talks about a couple different topics. But other
Yeah,
than that, I'm like, okay, well, there's another guy.
I think
I'm
there's
like,
the black man in the gun. I
yeah.
started
I
listening
mean,
to him. Yeah,
he's. I just
he
started
kind of
listening to
motivated
him.
me too. But as far as the like I said, the subjects and the topics that I want to talk about, I don't think there's anybody even talking about those
Hmm.
things that look like me and you.
Yeah,
And
and I'll tell you what, somebody might hear that and be like, "What? He's accusing me of not talking about these things." I actually don't care. Like, I think it's really exciting that you're saying that because I'm like, "Yo, please talk about these things," because I can't talk about everything all the time. So, like,
yeah,
please get on your show, get on your platform, and talk about it so I can share it and cross promote it, because I think it's great that you are specifically talking about at least that previous issue with your personal experience when it comes to like what happens if you are going through something and you're concerned that people are gonna try to red flag you like that. That's not something I've talked about, not in detail. But what are some of the other things you want to talk about?
I just produced the one about doomsday prepping. So just
Ooh.
key essential things that I feel like you would need in I just say if society was to collapse, whether that be man-made reasons or natural disasters or non-humanish things. I there's no way we're the only life out there to so whether that means I watch too much stuff on TV or not, I just think that is always a possibility. So I just think that people should be prepared or have certain key essential things to survive, even if it's for 30 days or I got into rationing. I got into, water filtration systems, or just the things that you should stockpile if you want to live, if you plan on living, if society was to go down, for an
Yeah,
extended period of time, a week or a month, or what if it goes down forever? What are you
you
going to
got
do?
that right.
What are you going to do if you're stuck in your house? What if you want? What are you going to do if you have to be on the move? So I got, it was only about 15 minutes long. I could have definitely talked longer, or
Yeah.
got into more detail, but I feel like I covered the basics. And then my next episode, and I'm actually, if anybody wants to reach out to me out there, and you feel like you would be an asset to that episode, I really want people to reach out to me. But the next episode is going to be called God and Guns. Basically, I'm going to talk about the importance of physical and spiritual protection. We
Hmm.
as Black people, we're very, I wouldn't necessarily say religious, because some of us aren't religious. I think we're very spiritual people by nature. Whether you are Muslim, whether you are um, somebody who just prays, or uses psalms, whether you're somebody who practices hoodoo or voodoo or whatever, we're just naturally spiritual people. So this episode will be all about, obviously, the importance of carrying your firearm every single day, but keeping up with your spiritual protection. People laugh when I say, you should have your chicken feet for protection. You should carry gree-grees. You should use your crystals and your stones, and stuff like that. And I've been exposed to the Black people who felt as though that's all they need. All I need is my crystals. All I need is my amethyst or my black tourmaline, and that's it. I'm like, no, you need your gun too. And then you got the Black people who just think they need the guns, and they feel as though they don't need any type of spiritual protection. So I want to,
Yeah.
speak on having both. You need to have both to protect yourself from the things that you can see and the things that you can't see.
Yeah, I personally I think it's super important to for me with my Christian faith to
Mm-hmm.
really take that relationship with God seriously, mainly because He will oftentimes give you some guidance to get out of stupid situations, so you don't end up having to pay the stupid tax
Mm-hmm.
and otherwise. And at the end of the day, especially if you have the understanding that that relationship with God will be with you whether you're here or whether you're there. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I think that's important too. Like why would you avoid that? And obviously there's people who don't believe that at all, and you're entitled to that. But
Yeah.
I think why for those who have the knowledge or the understanding that these things are important, why would you neglect it? And I'm guilty of neglecting it, like first of all, but why would you
Yeah.
intentionally neglect it? So for those who are listening, invest in your faith, especially
Absolutely.
especially if you are um, aware that the world is violent and dangerous. I keep hitting the mic. If you're aware the world is violent and dangerous and things don't always go the way you want, like people could literally be watching your house right now and want to kick in your door. And I'm not trying to sow fear and fearmonger. I'm really not. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like people are opportunists, and there's a lot of really bad
Yeah.
people out there who they've had a hard life, they've done this and that, and they don't mind making your life pretty hard too, just for a few minutes, right? Um,
Yeah.
so definitely, I appreciate you, doing a show on that, trying to speak to the spiritual side of things. And you mentioned something earlier. I think you more or less spoke about aliens. And here's an idea. I was just talking about this on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter. I wonder if when we've been seeing a lot of extraterrestrial stuff
Yeah.
in the news, and I'm kind of under the impression that somehow humans are going to use AI to beat the aliens, and then they're going to unleash the AI, and now the AI is going to drive us underground, and now we're going to have to fight aliens and AI, and it's going to kind of suck. Like it's going to suck either
I've
way.
heard many, like I said, people kind of look at you crazy, when you present that type of idea or suggestion.
I mean,
I mean, me
it's a thought.
personally, I do think that the government, or let's not rule out the idea that the government would not orchestrate a false flag operation with AI, or with aliens, or create some type of fake alien scenario to roll in some type of other new world order. I'm gonna just say it. I'm just gonna say it. Like I think that they have plans for us, whether we believe in those plans or not. And yeah, I think that whether the alien thing is a real threat or not, they have the ability to create or orchestrate a scenario to make people believe on a global scale that it is real or a real true threat, whether it is or not.
I'll tell you
To
what, people really do underestimate governmental, and not just the US government, but government's ability and people who have power and influence, even outside of the traditional government bodies,
yeah,
ability to change the social fabrics um, at will, at will. And I heard somebody say, really, the like the women's suffrage and women's rights, and I love women who seek education. I love women who find meaningful work. But I do see that there's this issue that we're coming against right now where there's a lot of ladies who would love to be able to be at home raising their children, especially, um, I'll say, especially black women who would love to be at home raising their children outside of um, the school systems, because the school systems are getting a little weird. I'm not going to say for what, but a little weird, and they don't have the option because of a billion things. But one of the big things is, um, there's either not a guy present in the home, which everybody, all people of all backgrounds deal with that. I'm not going to say is a uniquely black thing. I don't think that's fair or
no,
correct. And also, kind of the main point of what I'm trying to say is I believe that there was basically a plan to increase tax revenue. And maybe this is a conspiracy theory or some sort of right wing talking point, but whatever. Um, a
come on,
plan to increase tax revenue by introducing women into the workforce. And now you have two people that can be taxed in a household versus just one. Half your
right?
population was not necessarily taxed. You just had guys out there making their, 50, 60, 70, 80K or whatever it is adjusted for inflation. And that was enough. And now we see the prices of things are going up. Now you literally cannot possibly, because everything changed, but everybody's paychecks. You know what I mean? Like the
Right,
price of gas 10 years ago
the hourly
was,
rate.
you know, $2, and now it's like 380, depending on where you
Yeah,
go. But and your rate really hasn't changed that much. Like not really until more recently, until COVID. Now, if you work at McDonald's, you can make $15 an hour, which is crazy, but cool. Yeah. Okay.
I mean that's still not enough, I think, to
No, it's
afford a one
not.
bedroom apartment.
It's not.
And then a lot of
I'm telling
companies
you
now they're
this. It's not.
yeah, and now a lot of McDonald's or a lot of the fast food restaurants will have those mobile kiosks because they
Hmm.
don't want to pay somebody. They
Right.
rather use technology to. And I mean, me personally, like I said, whether you want to call me a conspiracy theorist or not, I don't really don't care. But that I think that is one of the end goals to replace a lot of the industry that is populated by human or human work
Hmm.
with AI, with technology to take our jobs or the
Yeah.
end goal is for us to be able to for them to one maintain their control with a significantly smaller population. You
Yeah.
know, I
You know,
won't
you're
get
you're
into how
most.
they're going to do that or how I won't even say, but
Hmm.
that's the goal where I think that's what they ultimately want to work to, using technology to control the people, but also maintain their power structure, and there not be 8 billion people on the planet. Maybe they can control the world still and be still as powerful, even more powerful, with just 2 billion people on the planet,
Yeah.
and not have be necessarily not necessarily be reliant on the people to, have that power or take in that money or that, yeah,
Oh, man, I
yeah,
feel like I'm gonna
that
go
power
off
from the.
topic, but I was
I,
I
I
was
know, I
literally.
know.
No, but here's one more thing before we try to like correct this course and take some
Yeah,
questions. Guys, really quick, if you are interested in asking just a few more questions, go ahead and drop your questions into the chat. We'll like to take two or three or four or five if we can. If you guys don't have anything to ask, that's fine as well. Welcome to some of these new faces in the chat. 223 DMR. Thank you, reps, for chatting. Thank you, True Butter Flavor. We see your chats. Thank you so much. But also, go ahead and drop a few questions if you guys have them, and we'll transition into a Q&A section of the podcast. But real quick, bro. So
yes,
I was watching this movie. last night actually, and there was a character for I'm not going to spoil what movie it was because I don't want to spoil it. But there was a
You got to tell
character.
me afterwards now.
I'll tell you after. But there was a character who was interacting with the real world pretty much via a VR avatar, and they walked up to the character and they're like, "Bro, like, who are you?" Like, it's like, "Oh, this is my avatar. I'm actually comfortably at home, chilling with my VR headset." And they were at home with it, headphones on, VR headset, just playing basically playing the game, except it was like real life consequences. And I'm just like,
Mm.
dang. And the character was just like, yeah, I like it here. Like this is my preferred life. Like I'd rather be doing this than what my real life
Actually,
is.
be out in
And
life.
I'm just like, what it this is this the Matrix where you want to this makes me sound like some sort of big conspiracy theorist. I swear I'm not. But
Well, you know that a lot of times they're going to push everything. Every human being has ego, so I think that they're going to always push their agenda. They can't help but to put or let everybody know their plans, whether it be through music or movies and things like that. So when we see stuff happen in movies or TV shows first, and then it unravels into our reality, and then we're like, oh well, the Simpsons predicted this or predicted that. They wanted us to see it or to know it,
yeah,
prior to it actually
yeah,
happening. They can't help but to, impose their power or the knowledge that they have over us, and say, look what I'm doing to you. I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'm still going to do it, and you can't do anything about it.
that's
So
right.
I think that is like the entire the dynamic behind it.
Yeah. Um, Last topic I kind of want to talk about until like, if we have any questions that come through, that'll be
Sorry.
good. Um, I see you got the Coleon Noir defund gun control. Coleon's the OG. There's oddly a lot of black people who have a problem with him for some reason, which is
Really?
yeah, because I guess when given an opportunity to really speak on black issues, he understands that his crowd is really kind of the world of 2A and not just specifically black people. So I think he's often
Yeah.
declined or he's come. And another issue that he's had is when speaking on like second self defense issues, sometimes he's sided with. It's like, well, I think at
I,
one point he like sided with Zimmerman, which was like a big no no in the black community. Like you're not allowed to do
yeah.
that, which it sucks because it's like I personally I hate what happened. Like I hate the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, from this standpoint and this standpoint and this standpoint, self defense says you can do X, Y, Z. Doesn't mean that it's right. Doesn't mean he was right to be there. Kind of like with the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, where a lot of people are like,
Right.
he shouldn't have been there. Well, yeah, he shouldn't have been there, but technically, legally, he could defend himself from, you know, dudes
Yeah.
running down the street trying to beat him with a skateboard. Like you can start blasting after that. Like legally, you're good.
Right.
But I mean, at the end of the day, people had a problem with that. That said, and I feel like you're about to say something, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I totally understand what you're saying, and you know how our people can be. We can be very critical of our own.
Mm-hmm.
More critical of our own than other people that we should be even more critical about.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like bro, like
yeah,
why are you worried
like
about him?
I
Like
can honestly say, huh?
I say, why are you worried about him? We literally have like these people who are
Yeah.
actively in our face.
Yeah,
I
now,
say in
yeah,
our
if
face.
Colio Noir is the number one guy that you're upset about 2A issues or not speaking up or being quiet about a certain thing, then your mind or your view is just totally off or wrong. You need to be focusing on other things. So yeah, I do see what you're saying because there's not everything that I agree with. I still subscribe to him. I still follow him. And watch his videos all the time. I'm just one of those people where I've learned to, what's the saying? Uh, Take the meat or eat the meat and leave the bones.
Yep.
So I might not necessarily believe or trust certain black leaders or influencers who might speak on different subjects, whether it be about 2A rights or whatever. I might not agree with their lifestyle. I may not agree with a particular subject or topic that they often speak on, but
Right.
can I learn something from them? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I learn a lot from Coleon Noir.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, could he speak up more about? And I get it. At the end of the day, that that may be detrimental to his bottom line. If white people or non-black people are funding him or contributing to his cause or to how he makes money or how he takes care of himself and his family, then yeah, I understand from that standpoint he may not want to speak on certain subjects or topics. They may deter white people away.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
get it,
it's
but
such
you
a
shouldn't
weird
be
place to
scared though.
be.
You shouldn't that shouldn't be the reason why you don't speak up for your people, because you shouldn't be afraid to lose money. You
Yeah.
know, I, yeah,
And
I can't live with
here's the
that either.
thing. I've met him one time. He seems like a nice enough guy. I know other people who know him and have great relationship with him, and they all like him. I've know people who are super like quote unquote pro black, like
Mm,
like
yeah,
you don't question them. They've already put in the work. They got the
yeah,
credentials. Like they could basically say anything wild, and you just be like, okay, yeah, like he's good. Like we're not even gonna worry about it. And
yeah.
they're like, no, 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 no. Like Corleone's good. Like don't even worry about it. And it's interesting because it's like, okay, what's his lane? Should we allow him to? When I say we, like we have ownership over him, and I think that's my biggest problem with the term black people, with the idea of the monolithic black community, is that when one person who has deep melanin says something that upsets the group, it's like he's not one of us anymore. We're gonna
Throw his ass off the boat,
excommunication.
basically.
And white people would never do that. Asian people would never do that. Like when I say Asian people, Filipino people, Chinese people, Japanese people, like I've never seen it. Like I've never seen it. It's
Yeah,
like, oh
I
well,
mean,
he said one bad thing. So I mean, unless you're like Chinese, and that's a little bit different, then they're gonna kick you out and lower your social credit score and whatever. That's it's a little
well, yeah,
different,
yeah. Don't say that.
right? You see, I'm
Oh
not gonna get
man,
that. I'm not gonna get
I
my
know,
deal.
man. Oh man, it's definitely a lot of things I want to talk about pertaining to that too. But
Okay,
yeah, I
guys,
think that.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
what were you
pause you
saying?
right. I'm gonna pause you right real quick. For some reason, my camera's losing focus. Guys, if you love the way this guy's mind works, tap into his podcast because it sounds like he's gonna be able to talk about a
Appreciate it.
few things. Obviously, it's gonna be more two-way oriented,
Yeah,
but I think you've got some cool ideas, and people really should check out the Arm Black Ambitious podcast, your podcast. If they're not already subscribed on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and follow it. Like, come on,
appreciate it.
come on. Like, what are you doing? I don't know if I totally made you lose your train of thought there. I apologize if I did.
No,
All right.
um, oh, well, damn it, I kind of did lose my train of thought. Well, we were just talking about, I guess, Calian Noir, and just how critical our people can be in terms, and I just think that once you reach a certain status, or once you get, I feel like a number of people, because it could happen to me or you, and people, I might say certain things or might speak on a certain subject or topic and say, oh well, it doesn't seem like you're for us if you speak on that, or if you take this certain stance on things. And another person that I truly love, and he actually motivated me too, or inspired me too early on, aside from my old supervisor and my uncle, to get into, self-defense, but also, just getting getting into the gun world, getting into the two-way thing was Maj Toure of
Oh
Black Guns Matter.
my, oh
Yeah,
my.
man, back in 2016, man, right on Spring Garden Street. If you're in Philadelphia, if you know the area, he was doing like a class, and it changed me. It was like, just how he was speaking or the things that he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, I need to go I actually got my gun permit, and I honestly, I didn't even do it back then. It just, I felt like that was like the first time it really stayed with me. And I didn't
Yeah,
even, like I said, I didn't even go ahead and get my gun permit back then. It was just, the seed began to grow within me at that point from
yeah.
going to see one of his classes, or going to one of his classes, and him speaking. And I actually ran into him one time at at like a kid's, water park. He's out with his family and stuff like that. So we talked for a split second, but it was I just don't think, nothing just happens for any reason. Everything is, whether, like I said, whether you're religious or not, or spiritual or not, me, you, and you talking right now was meant to be. You running into somebody, and you having a great conversation with that random person was always meant to be. And yeah, I just think
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I just
agree.
think
I will say
yeah,
this. Maj tends to get himself in trouble. He's a little bit of a loudmouth, and I'm not saying that to come at the man. I
yeah,
appreciate his hard work. We've got a lot of mutual friends. Like
yeah,
I got people who literally consider themselves to be like paternal figures to Maj. Like, and we got a lot of mutual friends. So but I'll say this: he's got to be careful because I think in his efforts to raise money, in his efforts to um, gain a little bit of a wider audience and reach people with the message that hey, in PA they're doing good work. They're trying to make sure that they reach the people who need this the most, which is uneducated. When I say uneducated, black people who have no backgrounds in firearms to be able to go in and get conflict resolution courses, to get information on how to think different, even politically, because the
yeah,
brainwashing is intense.
yeah.
And also,
Just vote Democrat and shut up.
right.
And be
I
good.
mean, here, bold face. Listen, I'm not here to like upset anybody, but when Biden said, "If you don't know if you're from me or Trump, then you ain't black," like that's like whether there's any merit to what you're trying to say or not, like it tells. This is how I hear it. You vote for me. You don't vote for anybody else. You don't vote for any third party. You don't write in. You don't vote for Harambe. Like nobody else but me, or you're not black. Like, and it's like,
Yeah,
bro, like, who do you think you are to even
yeah.
say that word and like
It,
to
it,
say
it,
these
it-
words in this order? Like, bro, like,
I
um,
think that's how low he views black people collectively, for him
yeah,
to be comfortable enough to say that. Because would he even
mhm.
say that to Asian people? Would he say that to Indian people? Would he say that to other white people? No, but they
Hex
know
no.
that we are easily manipulated politically because we have no political power. We might have black politicians, but we have no political power. We have
Mhm.
economic power, and that economic power is unorganized. And until we
Completely.
organize our economic power, we will never have political power because you
Ooh.
can't have political power without first establishing economic power. So
I mean,
yeah,
we
we're
we
we,
know
we're
this.
always we're pulled in every single direction by
We
all of these politicians because they know that they can manipulate us and use us as
You're
pawns.
correct, and we know that the power of the quote unquote black community, the black population, is zero to none, because a few crazy and unfortunate situations where you see black people getting beat, not black people, Asian people getting beaten up. Was it black people doing the beating, or was it some random cracked out white dude beating up black people? I don't care. Some
Yeah,
angsty teens out here beating up old Asian people, and all of a sudden, stop Asian hate crime bill. Okay.
in 1 year.
Oh wow, that was fast. And,
I mean, damn. But
I
but
mean,
but you know
the
why?
Japanese got reparations,
But you know why? They have economic and political power. They
right?
have they have politicians that they can hold accountable
Mm-hmm.
if these politicians
You
don't
gotta you
do
gotta
their
know a
bidding.
senator. You gotta know a senator. You gotta know a governor.
Yeah.
You gotta know people. You gotta
Well,
have these
well, I'll
people
say
on
this.
speed dial.
Yeah, and I'll say this to you: as much as we vote, whether that be Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, how many senators and mayors and council people, how many black people are actually calling and complaining to their senator?
Hmm. I tell
How
you
many
what,
black people are actually calling?
I've emailed my rep
Yeah,
like
you.
twice. But that's just
Yeah,
me. I don't know
yeah.
anybody else doing
I
it.
mean, collectively, we're not doing that. We'll,
What?
we'll vote for these
Yeah,
people and wholeheartedly endorse these people, Joe Biden, and then don't hold them accountable. Well,
because
they
it'll
know that you're
blow
not going to
over.
hold them
It'll
accountable, so they
blow
can do whatever
over.
the hell they want.
Oh, a guy gets killed. We have all sorts of people writing different narratives. They say, "Oh, George Floyd, he was this, he was that." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, whatever. He didn't deserve to die like that. Like, not
Yeah,
like a dog in the street. Like, come on, like
yeah,
dignity,
right.
please. And guess what? The mindset, and I promise you, this is the mindset, and this is my opinion. So don't sue me, anybody. Allegedly,
Keep going.
the conversation is this: it'll blow over. Just give it like a week. Give it like maybe 2 weeks. It'll blow over. Like don't even look at the email. Like it'll blow over. Okay. Like
Yeah,
not a big deal. These people aren't a big deal. Don't take them seriously. It will blow
yeah.
over. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox. Um, sir, guys,
I
if you
love it.
guys have any questions, fire them in right now because we're about to
I think
wrap
I
up.
did see one.
Shoot, what was? Let me just go through and see.
Yeah.
I did see somebody kind of referring to what
Yeah.
you were talking about before, of us being grown enough to sift through the grifters. And man, whether you're on the right or the left or whatever you're doing, there are a bunch of grifters out there, people who see it as financially advantageous to take a position and ride it hard to the bank. So be careful because there's a lot of people out there who really don't believe what they say they believe, and even people who maybe they believe it a little bit, but they find it financially advantageous to scream and shout and get your attention. It's probably why the show is not blowing up as much as it could be because I'm not just sitting on here and being like, George
Pandering.
George Floyd killed himself or something stupid like that. Like I'm not gonna say that. I don't believe it. Um, but
Yeah, a lot of people will speak on certain subjects for the shock value,
mm-hmm.
for the likes and the clicks.
Right.
And yeah,
I,
I mean, and I applaud you for that because you're keeping it. I mean, not to be cliche, you're keeping it real. Like you're being honest or you're
I do
being
my best.
authentic,
Yeah.
and people don't like that. People don't like the authentic. Don't like authenticity. Sometimes they like the
Yeah.
shock value. They like the ratchetness and the nonsense.
Yeah. I,
And
I
that
just
that's
couldn't. My
what.
kids my kids could watch the show whenever they get old enough, and they have seen the show. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want
Yeah,
them to
I
see
don't want my daughter watching
stupidness.
any bull crap one day and be like, damn, my dad was talking about nonsense and
Right.
and bullshit.
Yeah.
This doesn't make me proud.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And I think if we kind of kept that mindset, just as a people, whether we're talking about Second Amendment issues, whether we're talking about political issues, family issues, interrelational, interpersonal issues, or even like racial issues, quote unquote,
Yeah.
like if we kind of kept it a buck, kept it costly, as in we said the truth, no matter if people really cared to hear what we have to say or not, and didn't try to sensationalize everything. And unfortunately, you kind of have to a little bit in order to get people's attention. But there's a line. Like we don't have to literally put like the most wild thing out there just to get people's attention. Um, and you kind of do, but if we all kind of ease back a little bit from that and said like, hey, listen, like we're not going to just be like, these people are out to kill you. Maybe they are, but like that's not what I don't think that's helpful to lead with. So there's that, man.
I'm sorry, my daughter is
No, it's okay. How
hounding
old is
me.
she?
She's 5.
Yeah.
Hold on, come here. I want you to see her really quick. I'm sorry. Come
No,
here,
you're
Zora.
good.
Come here. Oh, she wants me to change the movie for her.
Okay. Well, I guess we should go ahead and wrap up then, since we're kind of at that point
Oh
anyways in the
man, I
show.
know, but I would love for you to have me back on.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Doors open. I would love to have you come in and have a more private chat with us in the members
Yes.
only. Invite some of your people. Invite some of the people in the chat. If you guys are here with us live, I see some of the people who are live with us. Shoot me an Instagram DM, and I will invite you to like a members only chat with our guy Preston, Abrafo Akia. Invitation is here. How do you do that? Go to Instagram armed_atlas and just let me know you were here live, and we'll get it done. That said, bro, thank you so much for joining us. How can people find you
Thank
one
you
more
again.
time?
Oh, how people can find me? You can follow me on Instagram, Armed Black Dad. Again, that's Armed Black Dad. You can follow my podcast, Armed Black and Ambitious. That's pretty much it. Or Abrafo Akia on Facebook. I don't even mind that. If you don't mind the more unfiltered, raunchy version of me. I get
Isn't that what people
suspended
want?
often on there, but sorry, it's okay. It's okay. I'm sorry, everybody, but
I mean, Armed Black Dad is dealing with the dad stuff. I get it. I 100% get it. I'll go ahead and sign out and let people know where they can find us. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us here in Costly Conversations. If you're joining us live, thank you so much. If you're listening on podcast, thank you so much. You are pretty much the reason why we're doing this. We want to share the information with you, and we're thankful that you are here with us, listening on your drive, wherever you are. Let me know where you are. Shoot me a DM when you get a chance. Instagram.com at armed_atlas, or even Twitter at armedatlas, or wherever you're listening from. I don't care. Just shoot me a DM. Let me know that you're either a fan or that you hate everything that I stand for. Like, that's fine too. I can take it. I'm an adult. So if you want to join us, the link down below for the Patreon will unlock the private members only Discord. And anyone who's in the members only Discord will be invited to all the stuff. We'll get exclusive early access to some of my videos. There's some videos that have been up for those guys, like my first impressions hands-on with the Glock 43X. That video is not out for anybody except for those guys. It's been up for about 2 weeks now. Maybe it'll go up. I don't know. I think I'm going to edit it a little bit more and then put it out for you guys. That said, I'm really excited about what we have going on in the future. We are going to be really putting in a lot of work for this next year. So thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing and being a part of what we're doing going forward. Wow. I'm just full of gratitude because this is one of the coolest things in the world, coolest job in the world, to get to sit down in front of you guys and share my thoughts and my opinions, whether it's filtered or unfiltered. And we try to keep it costly. And we thank our guest for coming on and sharing and letting us take a peek into his mind, whether it's about some of the stuff he dealt with previously, with his personal life, or even sharing some of his opinions on other things. That said, I want you guys to keep it costly.